This is John for the Everyday Fan Sports. Today I have the pleasure of being on the beat with a talented wrestler, a veteran wrestler who's putting on an interesting show tomorrow. Welcome, Brian Costello. How are you, sir?
Good. Thank you for having me, John. Appreciate it.
Thanks for being here, man. I remember watching you for years in the WWF. I want to talk about your show tomorrow, but if you could indulge me with a few stories of WWE. I know you wrestled some big names in there like Andre the Giant and everybody else. How was that to wrestle those legends?
Oh, it was an honor and a privilege. I mean, growing up, sometimes watching a lot of them and then in the ring with them, a pure, enjoyment, all that. As a kid, watching some of them. Again, we won't necessarily name names. I mean, there were some I didn't care for, but it was a job, and you got in there and you wrestled them. But some of the, I consider truly legends. Being in there with Andre the Giant and wrestling him, Greg the Hammer Valentine, Pedro Morales, Bob Backlund, which, I hate to say, probably kids and people nowadays, they don't know some of those guys. They might know them from the WWE Network if they go back and watch some of the old films and matches for them, but true superstars and legends. I mean, and there was, Paul Orndorff, Don Morocco, guys that were just, so talented to work with.
And so back in the day when you were actually in the at the time WWF, I guess, did you appreciate, did you soak it all in, and that you're actually on the big stage performing?
Oh yeah, I mean it was, and like anything, I mean there was guys that you got a bond to, friendship, and you just enjoyed working with them. It's like, hey, I'm working that guy tonight. Oh, great, because you knew you're going to have a great match. And then there was other ones, it was just like, let's just go out there and get it over with. Because you knew from the get-go it wasn't going to be the best of matches, whatever. It's just, some guys had that, that ego and that agenda that, here's a guy that's kind of like, beneath me or whatever, but I got to do a match with him. So, and besides, doing, TV tapings, also working house shows and all that. And then a lot of the guys were different once, when you work in house shows from when you're doing TV, but you still had some of the ones that were, egomaniacs to a point, or, just arrogant that when you're even doing house shows, they didn't want to give you anything.
And what would you say would be, what was your highlight, though, if you had to pick one or two memories that really stand out for you in your career?
Oh, what, in the WWF or?
Whatever you want, sir. You've had a wonderful career, so I won't limit it.
I've had some great matches in the WWF with certain guys that were just, they were just totally awesome. Couple house shows come to mind. One time wrestling Hercules Hernandez, we just tore the house down. I hate to say, we were third, fourth match down the line. We were probably the best match of the night. Wow. And that happened in actually my hometown, South Bend. We wrestled in Cleveland. I wrestled Haku. That was an awesome match. Going over in Japan, working for All Japan, and being tag team partners in six-man tag with Stan Lariat Hansen and Big John Nord. That was awesome. And, wrestling in all the big arenas over there. So that stands out. And again, probably the ultimate, it wasn't much match. I did get a victory over him. It's kind of, but wrestling Andre the Giant, because, there is nobody bigger.
Yeah, right.
Bigger and a legend than Andre the Giant. And it's one of those things too. Like the guy said, if he liked you, he liked you, and took care. And if he didn't, he could make it rough. And I was fortunate that he liked me, so it was an easy night. Took care of me and all that stuff, and it was a pleasure working him.
Awesome. Now, I know you stayed active in the wrestling scene, both as a coach and performing on shows in South Bend. You got a show coming up tomorrow. I've been to a few of the Clash at the Cove. Unfortunately, I will not be there tomorrow. I've got something else I have to do, and I really wanted to go, though. When did you start doing the Clash at the Cove?
Oh, God, I'm trying to think. I want to say it was like 1980. Might have been 88, 89, because there was a couple times in there that obviously we haven't had it in a couple of years because of the pandemic.
Right.
We've been off, so we're back after kind of a 2-year hiatus and all that. So I would say late 80s we started and all that. And this is actually our 22nd annual Clash at the, it's a lot of people still know it as Clash at the Cove, but since then the stadium has changed its name, so we cannot refer to it as that, but people still do. So that's why we just call it Clash now in the number.
Okay, so the Clash. So, but how cool is that for you? Yeah, I mean, I know when I went, wrestling in an outdoor stadium is always really cool. And I know the couple times I went, I thought it was really cool that, like, they have the ring sitting there on the infield and the fans all around in the open air. And especially for you, I mean, that's your area. So how cool is that for you to not only put on the show, but to be on the show and to wrestle on the show?
I don't do it for myself. I try to go back and we kind of like bring back the old time wrestling. I mean, you've been to a couple of them, all that. It's not a lot of talking. It's not a lot of glitz and glamour to a point. It's just like hard-nosed wrestling, maybe back in the 70s, early 80s style. Guys go out there and they work hard. Matches will last anywhere from 15, 20, 25, 30 minutes. I mean, it's good, hard wrestling. It's entertaining. It's family entertainment. And we just bring back that, old time, you're from the Chicago area, so to a point where, I don't know if you used to go maybe like to the International Amphitheater. All that back then.
A little bit, yeah.
That kind of like hard style wrestling. We do that. And it's been a pleasure from my connections at being with WWF for so long, bringing in a lot of the old-time legends and Hall of Famers, and they enjoy it coming in. And we've had a who's really of stars that have been there over the years.
Well, I know you've got a lot of legends, and you've got a lot of great indie wrestling too. I never want to overlook the guys that aren't the huge names, because as I said, I've been to your shows. I've seen the results and whatnot of the ones I haven't been. I love your shows. Could you give us a little brief preview of what we could expect tomorrow, though?
Well, it should be exciting because we've got two titles that are vacant because of the kind of like for the pandemic, and then because of wrestlers, WWE legend Pretty Paul Roma, he was our heavyweight champion. He defeated me a couple years ago for the belt. Due to some of his, he's had some health problems and all that. He's like semi-retired and not wrestling as much. So basically, he vacated the title. So we'll be crowning a new IEW champion. And that'll be between Brutus Dillon and Sergeant Jay Peterson. And, some people, why didn't you put yourself in there? You should be the number one contender. It's like, well, it's time for somebody else to step up and do it. And sometimes it's better being the hunter than the hunted. So I can always go after them if I want. And then our ladies champion was ODB. And she'd been our champion for a few years. Well, she's since retired too. And so we'll be crowning a new ladies champion that night. So, and that'll be between Crystal White and Sinister Shea.
Well, I'm familiar with Crystal. Crystal's, I don't know if she's from here, but she certainly spends a lot of time in the Chicago area. I've seen her wrestle a handful of times. That's going to be both matches are good. I've seen Sergeant Jay Peterson wrestle. So I've seen at least one of the two wrestlers each of the matches, and those are going to be excellent matches. How many total matches do you have?
We have 5 total matches. We have 2 guys making their debut, Kevin Storm and Daniel Stark. They've never been here before, so they're tickled pink to be on the card. They're making their debut. Me and Cowboy Bob Orton, WWE Hall of Famer, we're the tag team champions. We'll be defending our belts against Pastor Payne and Pitbull. And then we have Andy Shane will be defending his U.S. title against William Studd.
Well, I know Bob Orton can still go. Obviously, you can still go. I know that, but Bob Orton can still go. I've seen him.
Yeah, Well, he's been there a fixture probably the last 10 years. I said we've been the tag team champions for numerous years right now. They haven't been able to, nobody's been able to beat us yet. So he still looks forward to coming to the show each and every year. And he's great. He's great with the fans. People still, now with Randy being out there and all that, and he still gets the notoriety and the pop and all that. Like, and people ask about him and Randy and all that stuff. So he has a ball.
Well, I extremely appreciate your time. Tell everybody where they could find out information. I know that obviously it's tomorrow, or if you're watching the video, it might be tonight. But I'm sure you can still get.
After the Cove, it's tomorrow, Saturday, 27th at Four Winds Field, which is South Bend, Indiana, and you can get tickets at the stadium that night. We have ringside of $20, GA's $10. Or you can call the stadium and purchase your tickets that way, and it's 574-235-9988.
And fans can get a whole night of wrestling. I'm sure they can meet the wrestlers either before or after the show, whichever.
We come back on that one, John. From my time, and from WWE and all that, and the guys really enjoy that, especially the old legends and Hall of Famers. We have like basically meet and greet where you can see your favorite wrestlers, and over the years, the guys get a kick out of that, the old-time legends and all that. Back in the day, you never really saw them. You never got to meet them unless maybe you caught them at the airport or hotel or something like that. Nowadays, they make themselves accessible and all that, and they just love the fans. And from, to a point where they might have been a bad guy for 20 years, now fans come up and meet them, and I used to hate you. They all love them. They meet them, and like I said, we've had, from Demolition to Tito Santana to Barbarian Haku, Bobby the Brain Heenan, Jim the Anvil Neihart, Jimmy Hart, Iron Sheik, Ken Patel. We've had all the who's who in wrestling.
Well, I can speak for how great that you and your staff are, because one of the shows I attended several years back, Tammy Sitch was one of the guests, and she was delayed for whatever reason, but you guys
You have to bring that one up, didn't you, John?
No, this is a good one though. This is a good one. She was there and she was late, and you guys kept making an announcement, letting fans know. She came in, signed. You guys kept everything open, kept everything running for the entire time. Every fan walked away happy that night. So if you guys could pull off a show like that with that big of a delay and all that, and everybody walked away happy, and I walked away happy. I mean, kudos to you and your staff. That was a fantastic night.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. But that was a situation that shouldn't have happened. But we'll just leave it at that. That was not because of anything that we did. That was something that the other person did and all that. But like you said, we did. We kept in contact with the fans and all that. And she did get there. Unfortunately, she missed most of the show. But she came. She signed autographs for all the fans that stuck around to meet her.
Well, that was my point. You guys, no matter what the case was, you guys handled it perfectly. You guys handled it unbelievably well. Everybody walked away happy. I've been to other one of your shows. I've never had a bad time. I've always had a great time. If it wasn't for softball tomorrow that I have to cover, I would be there in an instant, because I just love your shows. And it's been a pleasure talking to you, man. I used to watch you on TV, and to think 35 whatever years later I'd be talking to you like this, it kind of blows my mind. The teenage kid in me is really thrilled to talk to you. So I appreciate your time. I encourage everyone to check out the Clash, and we'll talk to you soon and get an update.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, John.